What's up, champs? Welcome back to the Short Shifts Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Karlsson. I am your host, Ben Burnett. Joining me, as always, my pal and yours, Louis Ezekiel. Louis, my friend, how are you doing this fine, I guess, Thursday evening that we're recording?
Yeah, doing very well. We had our first snow day of the year, so got to hang out with the kids today. Very relaxing, getting that lovely lake effect snow off Lake Michigan here in Kalamazoo.
I'm having a very, I don't know how to describe it, very frightening winter. Like, I'm enjoying the fact that I've not had to wear my winter jacket once in January on the east coast of Canada, but it's a alarming feeling in the background.
Yeah, you're enjoying it, but you're also, the creeping thought in the back of your head is like, why is it like this? This is maybe not great.
Yeah, I'm just not used to good things happening, Louis. So let's try and find a few good things in the haystack of bad things going on and get into the fantasy hockey analysis for this evening. And we are going to start, Louis, with what I've been praying on for months now, probably hopefully the resolution to the fantasy hockey story that broke my heart in 2021-22. Nikita Kucherov back in the lineup. Praise the Lord. Finally, starting on a line with Braden Point and Andre Palat. Louis, the boys are back in town.
Yeah, great news. The Kucherov owners, taking a second season in a row for some of them, just with, a really unfortunate start to the season. So great to see that Kucherov is back. Very exciting. Hasn't been kind of the explosive fireworks of a game so far here on Thursday night, but there is still time. So we'll see how things wrap up. Obviously great news for Point, great news for Palat, although Palat has, kept things going pretty nicely for himself throughout this. I was kind of a doubter, and I feel a little bad because I advised Elon earlier in the season that he was someone that he could afford to let go. But Palat's actually been doing very nice. And I gotta say, there's not a ton of analysis yet for Kucherov's return, but I wanted to make sure we did not talk about the Lightning without mentioning another Bolt who very much deserves it, and that's Corey Perry, who with a goal here on Thursday is up to 8 points over the last 7 games, despite not playing over 16 minutes and 30 seconds in a game over that span, and several under 14 minutes. He continues to see power play 2 time. He's still deployed with Maroon and PE gym class Bellemare, and just keeps scoring. You could definitely do worse among players rostered under 20% of leagues. So if you're looking for, a stream or you're looking for someone to fit in, think about Corey Perry. Possible option there for you, maybe lost in all the excitement with Kucherov's return.
I appreciate you slipping in the PE gym class Bellemare. That's clever. I'll give you that one. Andre Palat, though, I think now is when I'd be more worried about him with Kucherov back and potentially taking up that spot on power play 1.
That's a good point. Yeah. I guess it's an upgrade for him probably at even strength and maybe the downgrade on the power play. So yes, I suppose that could be a potential concern.
And as we are finishing up this segment, Nikita Kucherov officially back on the score sheet, assisting on a Braden Point goal. I am ecstatic. It feels good to be a Nikita Kucherov manager today. And Louis, we are going to hop over to Beantown, to Boston, where a returning goaltender is making headlines today. What can you tell us about Tuukka Rask?
All right. Yeah. So a familiar face, making his return sort of with a Bruins team, if not the Bruins team. Rask signed a PTO to play with the AHL affiliate in Providence, was scheduled to have that first game here on Thursday, but unfortunately the other team, is now in COVID protocol. So we're going to have to wait a little longer, before Rask can start that conditioning stint. It'll just be very interesting to see. I would be a little worried potentially if I were a Swayman owner. We have seen the coach say that he could bounce around the taxi squad potentially, but he also said that if Swayman is giving them the best chance to win, then he's going to play. So maybe a little bit reminiscent of some of the 3-headed goalie monster days in Dallas from seasons past. Just something to keep an eye on if you are a Swayman Allmark owner. And if you are someone rushing out to grab Rask, again, I think we want to temper ourselves with a little bit of caution here, because we simply don't know what the workload is going to look like. And, is he really going to be a better option? I think remains to be seen. Maybe this is a signing that is a little more, for the things that you've done for us in the past, and maybe not so much things that he's going to be able to do in the future. I'm not trying to rain on the Rask parade, but I am a little hesitant. I see people rushing out to grab him, and he hasn't even officially started that conditioning stint yet. So I urge a little bit more caution, I think.
So when you say that you're urging a little caution, you mean that you wouldn't be grabbing him in any leagues?
I think if you are way ahead in your week and sure that you're going to win, and I mean like way, 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 way ahead, because we've seen these things turn on a dime. I had a 70-point lead evaporate this season, so you got to be very careful. I
guess I'm a little confused about what you mean by this then. Is it like you're just thinking that like his ceiling isn't that high, so like what's the point in adding him, or it is worth grabbing him speculatively if you do have enough of a lead? I guess I'm just curious where you stand on the Tuukka matter.
I think it's too early to be grabbing him when he hasn't even started his conditioning stint. I mean, the dude has been off the ice for quite a while. Who knows? There could be COVID, there could be injuries. I just think it's too soon to be going for it. And if you want to I think at this time, if you have aggressive league mates who want to go and get him, I say you let them. And if you want to grab him, I think you can do it closer to when he actually can contribute to your roster.
I feel like we need a term, Lewis, for like when you can grab like a speculative ad that it's like it's not like I'm saying there's no reward to find whatsoever, but I think I agree with you on Rask. I'm just not that excited about him. Worried about what a possible workload could look like, where the coaches said that Swayman is able to go on the taxi squad, so they could ferry him in and out. I assume that they would run with a hot hand approach. I also think that Rask is unlikely to see a workhorse starters load. So like at the very least, I think he's probably seeing a similar workload to what he saw with Halak last year, back and forth with Allmark. But then also you had the Swayman picture in. I'm with you. I'm not going to be adding him anywhere, but there are certainly, I think, like leagues where if you're in first place in the categories league, you have no concerns and your playoff placement doesn't really matter, and you can never find goalies anywhere. Like in that sort of a thing, like that's where speculatively I think I could understand taking the shot.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I think that's some wise advice there.
And so we have one other injury we want to talk about in Boston. Charlie McAvoy is missing tonight's game with a lingering lower body injury. But Lewis, I think the coach mentioned that he wasn't too concerned about this one.
Yeah, I kind of get the sense that the lingering was kind of happening while he was playing and like just needs this little extra bit of rest. He took a maintenance day from practice and now he's out. I'm hoping that Tuesday to Saturday break will be enough. Cassidy downplayed it. He said he didn't think it was long term. It seemed like Saturday may be a possibility. I'm definitely hoping that's the case as a McAvoy owner in the cupful. I grabbed Nikita Zadorov to fill in for a couple games, before hopefully I can drop him and just insert McAvoy right back in for Saturday's game. I'm hoping that pays off as a strategy there with Calgary having the back-to-back.
So did you not have a shot at Matt Grzelcyk, who is filling in for McAvoy and already has a power play assist on a Brad Marchand goal?
Well, nice for him to get that. I did have a shot at him. I don't have a ton of faith in him. He's not somebody that I've ever been super enthusiastic about, back when he was filling in for Krug potentially on that top power play. Obviously hindsight is 2020, so I probably do wish that I had grabbed him. That one assist may very well outscore Zadorov over 2 games. But, I was just trying to maximize games from my roster and have somebody that I could drop on Saturday.
I really like Grzelcyk. I would take a shot on him if I needed a defenseman to fill in. Although Boston is just one of the, it's the weirdest thing. It feels like they never play games. Even we're halfway through the year and it still doesn't feel like they've had a chance to even out the fewer games played that they had early in this season. Next, we're going to hop over to Anaheim, where tonight's game between Anaheim and Detroit has been postponed due to COVID-19. The game has actually been moved to Sunday, so it's a little bit less consequential than some of the other COVID postponements we've seen so far this season. You're still going to get that game into your week. I guess it is actually kind of helpful in a lot of ways because we have the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday heavy nights. Moving on to an off night might have freed up some space in your roster tonight, and now you get those Ducks games later in the week. Earlier today, we learned that John Gibson was pulled from practice due to a positive test. We also found out that Trevor Zegras had cleared protocol, but would still be held out tonight, much to his chagrin, apparently. Hopefully we are close to seeing both Zegras and Getzlaf back in the lineup, and this isn't an indication of longer-term postponements. The Ducks do play the Rangers Saturday and now the Wings Sunday, so I suppose it's worth keeping your eye on. I'm probably going to avoid streaming those players in if I have a roster space on that night. And also, I guess, kind of good news if you're a Trevor Zegras manager, because it means that the game that you wouldn't have got from him while he was up in the press box, now hopefully he's healthy enough to play. So yeah, it could be worse, I guess, if you're a Zegras owner. Always got to look on the bright side.
Yeah, I like that glass half full approach. And that was sort of what I was thinking about too, is Zegras, we had seen some reporting that Zegras was a little upset about potentially being held out here on Thursday. And, now he'll get to rest until Saturday, and hopefully that'll be what he needs to recharge that battery and get healthy and get back into the game.
All right, Lewis, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to head out to Seattle and Vegas and a little stop north of the border to my home country. You're listening to Short Shifts. Welcome back to Short Shifts. Lewis, let's head out to Seattle to start off this next segment and tell us what's going on with Jaden Schwartz.
Yeah, so we found out today that Jaden Schwartz would require hand surgery that is going to keep him out for 4 to 6 weeks. He's been doing pretty well. 20 points in 29 games. He's at a 57-point pace, maybe about what we can kind of expect from him. He had been pretty cold recently, just 4 points in his last 11 games. But with Jordan Eberle, the only Kraken players kind of consistently seeing that top line, top power play deployment, although we've seen a little more of that from Jared McCann lately as well. Of course, we know that Seattle is basically off for the whole week, so there's some time certainly for Kraken owners to, ponder the future of some of their players. But, always unfortunate to see somebody, a useful contributor on an expansion team go down. The depth isn't always there to the degree that you'd like to kind of call in those reinforcements. So all the best to Schwartz and his recovery. But yeah, not great for the Kraken in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, it's been a real up and down season for Schwartz. I remember he started super cold and then went on a nice little point per game tear halfway through this short season. And it's hopefully he can find his game when he comes back. We're going to head over to Vegas next, where we have an outjury to chat about, and that is Robin Lehner back in action. Time to dump your Laurent Brossoit shares. He was, I guess, decent, up and down, I'll say, in relief of Lehner while he was out with an injury. Vegas also could be getting Mark Stone back in the lineup soon, which would be a nice little addition for Chandler Stevenson. Not much to say about this one, but just hopefully a corner can be turned for Robin Lehner. I know he's had some struggles this season.
Yeah, definitely not the sort of top 5 goalie a lot of us really hoped that he could be this year, getting the lion's share on a pretty good team. But, they really have never managed to kind of get all the way healthy, and obviously won't be with Pacioretty still several weeks out with his surgery. So, yeah, just something to sort of keep an eye on, and hopefully, we can see things get right for the Golden Knights. Another team that is in desperate need of getting things right is Edmonton. We talked about them on the last show, so we won't spend too much time talking about those top players, although as we sort of talked about being a possibility on the table, we did see Draisaitl play 25 minutes the other night. Again, I think this is just Dave Tippett trying to save his job any way he can think of. But the players that I want to talk about right now are Evan Bouchard and Jesse Puljujarvi. In 5 games since returning from the extended holiday break, Evan Bouchard has 1 goal on 12 shots, and Puljujarvi has been kept off the score sheet entirely in the 4 games that he played. He, of course, missed the game on the 29th versus St. Louis in COVID protocol. Now that Puljujarvi's lost his best line mate to COVID, he saw a paltry 13 minutes in the last game next to Zach Hyman and Ryan McLeod. Bouchard was still top pair and played 59% of the power play time on ice. Of course, the usual power play 1 QB Tyson Barrie is on COVID protocol as well. But he hasn't been able to convert like so many of the Oilers. I gotta ask Ben, with just 2 games between now and January 20th, is now the time to let those 2 hit the wire?
isn't it just one game between now and January 20th?
Well, I guess there's the game on the 10th and the game on the 20th.
Yeah. So 2 games in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't see how you hold on to I wouldn't hold on to any Oilers player that's not nailed down to the power play 1 floor, I guess, as a manner of speaking. Puljujärvi is a guy who probably he might get snapped up in a lot of leagues, but I think that you're in a league where somebody is grabbing Puljujärvi for the name value rather than for what he's done lately. I think that you let that league mate of yours take that 0 rather than having to hold on to the anchor. Again, maybe you hold on if you have the roster space and we mentioned earlier, the lead in your league and the ability, the roster flexibility to sort of take the zeros for a little while. But for me, I don't see either of them as somebody who you're going to regret significantly dropping. They're not going to cost you your fantasy championship. And they might actually cost you the next 2 weeks taking those zeros.
Especially with, really no way of knowing after this long of a layover and without a whole lot of production, like that spot next to McDavid is not guaranteed. We know that from years past. So I don't think we want to make any assumptions about where he's going to end up. So yeah, I think, I'm someone who let Jared McCann go in Cupful. He was snapped up for a nice bit of fab today. But I just couldn't stomach having the full week with that 0 in my lineup when I'm in a position where I need to win as many matches as I possibly can if I want to hang on. So, I would be definitely dropping those 2 Edmonton players.
All right, Lewis, where are we heading next?
All right. Well, next on the lineup card here, I wanted to talk about a little bit of happier news and a top line that has been reunited and has just been going berserk. And actually, my numbers are already out of date here. But since the Penguins' top line has been fully reunited, so 2 games and change here so far, Sidney Crosby has managed 5 points with a goal, 4 assists, and 1 point on the power play. Jake Gensel, after another goal here, is now up to 6 points, 3 goals and 3 assists with none on the power play. And Brian Rust has absolutely been going bananas. 11 points in those 3 games, 7 goals, 4 assists, 4 power play points. A total offensive explosion. Anyone who had the patience to hang on to Rust despite overflowing injured reserves, resisting trade offers, all of that have really been enjoying these last few games as he's trying to make up for lost time. Obviously, Rust will not continue to shoot 54%, which was what he was managing at the time I put this card together. But he's really doing a nice job. The looming question is what happens when Malkin returns. His return seems imminent, and Jeff Carter also should be back in the lineup. He's off COVID protocol, but was deemed not ready to suit up quite yet. So with Malkin and Carter out, the power play 1 forwards have been Crosby, Rust, Gensel, and Evan Rodriguez. And you might think Erod seems like the easy pick, but he does have 4 power play goals in the past 5 games prior to Thursday night. And Coach Sullivan stated he likes having a right-handed one-timer out there on the ice. We know Crosby and Letang aren't leaving that first unit, and in my opinion, it's pretty unlikely that Gensel gets bumped down to power play 2 also, which basically leaves 2 slots for some combination of Carter, Malkin, Erod, and Rust. My guess is that Sullivan is not going to break up this highly efficient unit that he's got going right now, at least until it starts to slow down. So I would imagine that at least in the near term, we see Rodriguez and Rust hold on to those spots. But I imagine that once Malkin gets a couple games under his belt, he seems destined to eventually reach power play 1. And then it's anybody's guess if Carter makes it in there or not. So, just something to keep an eye on. If you are holding one of those guys, you may find yourself, if they're off power play 1, maybe not Russ because he's going to be out there with Crosby. And I mean, Evan Rodriguez, if he gets bumped, he's still out there probably with Malkin also. So I don't know. I don't know if these are guys that you would consider selling high. No one is going to buy that they're going to be able to keep doing what they've been doing lately. But just something to consider is what that configuration on power play 1 looks like moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that Malkin will be off power play 1 for too long. If he does, as you sort of suggested, a bit of a tapering in, that might be a great opportunity to sell Evan Rodriguez, who's been amazing. And I don't really want to undersell how good Evan Rodriguez has been this season. I believe that he is a very talented player now. and that he's somebody who is going to be worth having on your roster. However, I don't think that he's a 75-point player, as he's currently pacing for. 12 points in his last 8 games, and I could see those headlines already with Malkin. If Malkin comes back not to the typical elite deployment that we expect, you can already picture the freak out. And if that's the case, I am definitely going to be shopping Evan Rodriguez, just to see what might be out there, because I think that he's sort of, he screams odd man out in this configuration. The other player that I'm a little bit nervous about moving forward, I think, is just, I don't like what happened with Brian Rust last year on Pittsburgh, where not that he was bad or that he ended up getting frozen out, but I think that he's the easiest piece to move up and down the lineup if and when things do get stale. And so, despite the fact that he's currently on pace for 110 points, I don't think that, I see him more as a 70-point guy when things break right, 70, 75 points. So if I can get a point per game guy or better for Brian Rust, I am probably into making that swap.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if you can get it. Sometimes I feel like when players go too incandescent, it actually kind of hurts their trade value, because it's the numbers are so eye-popping that people simply can't believe them. Like, I looked at, Corey Perry's 8 points over 7 games, and I was like, oh, that's pretty solid. Like, I wonder if he can keep this up. And I look at Rust and I say, well, there's no way he can possibly keep it up. And, it's hard to sort of ratchet down, okay, what are my expectations? If he's not going to do this, what does it really look like? And I think sometimes there's an overcorrection there. So yeah, make sure you're getting your money's worth if you're going to send Rust away, and that it's not people just saying, well, he's not going to do this, and really he's going to be more like a 60-point guy, so I don't like him.
So are you saying you think it's more likely Corey Perry's a point per game guy than Brian Rust? I'm confused about that portion of what you just said.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not trying to make that comparison. I'm just saying that the streaks, I feel like there's a psychological element to those streaks that makes them look different. When you've got the eye of the person who you're trying to make an offer to, and one of them is like, oh, this is interesting, a point, a goal here, an assist there, versus 2 goals and 2 assists every game for a long chunk, and you say, well, that's going to have to correct, and maybe you overcorrect.
Right, like the Troy Terry effect earlier this year, where everyone's trying to pinpoint a price and nobody really has like a sure idea of what it is. I think Brian Rust, we have a few more years of data of what he is and can be. And I think that's why I feel fairly safe dealing him if I'm able to cash him in for, like I said, an 80-point guy. Lewis, because nothing gold can stay, and in case anyone thought I wasn't cursed, my Kakupful team gained a Kucherov. It looks like Kirill Kaprizov is out is going to be out for the rest of the game, and doesn't look too pretty on this hit from Trent Frederick. So there's nothing to say. Obviously, it's too soon, but I am dying over here on my end.
Yeah, really unfortunate. You hate to see it, especially, from kind of a whodunit like Trent Frederick. Like, come on, what are you trying to prove, man? But, yes, unfortunate from the Kaprizov owners out there. And just, again, we say this too much lately, but it's the kind of injury that hurts everybody in the lineup. One little bit of bright spot, I suppose, that you have is, you had Matt Boldy scoring his first NHL goal on Thursday night. So kudos, well done for you, young man. But yeah, I think that's going to be overshadowed certainly for many more owners of, or rosters, I should say, of Kirill Kaprizov, who may be out for a little bit here.
All right, Lewis, that is all the time that we have for tonight's show. Thank you everyone for listening. And to Lewis, I look forward to chatting with you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already. Give us a follow at Short Shifts KK. We're active on Twitter. We've been answering all kinds of interesting questions. Brian and Elon, of course, are at Keeping Karlsson. Dave Benton of the Stream Scheme at NHL Stream Scheme. And we have the suite of game day accounts at Game Day Lines, at Game Day Goalies, and at Game Day News. Please visit the great sites where we research our episodes at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, Natural Stat Trick, and Kakupful.com. Our intro and outro music was created by Pat Roach, and until we see you next time, play smart and keep your shifts short.